Well, that can kind of be a segue into our next thing. It's been a while since we've checked in on our granddad Bernie Sanders. He's been in the news quite a bit late this week. Since we were talking about cabinet positions in a Biden administration, it has been reported that Bernie wants to be Joe Biden's labor secretary. The labor secretary for Bill Clinton, Robert Reich, said, yeah, like I like that idea, and
Sanders would be good at it.
yeah, and that kind of like speaks to kind of the points of agreement in which Bernie and Biden do have with each other, because the agreements that they do have, aside from social issues, they do have some agreements on very surface level, basic, like obvious things when it comes to helping the working class. They're both for raising, or at least like Joe, and I'm referring to Joe Biden, just in the context of his campaign rhetoric. Like they're both talking about raising the minimum wage to $15, which is just the bare minimum. $15. Yeah, $15 is just like what you need to survive. And they talking about making it easier to join a union. And there's more things like that we'll get into a clip later. But yeah, I could definitely see Bernie Sanders possibly being labor secretary. I honestly think, in my opinion, I would, even though like I've definitely fallen out of love with her in recent months, I would love to see Elizabeth Warren like as the Treasury Secretary, because that is one of the issues in which she is really strong. She's really good with things like that. I know she's not the Steve Mnuchin Wall Street type who would just like, it's like, okay, here's the keys to the Treasury Wall Street, have at it. You know what I mean? That's like, I don't know. Is there any other possible cabinet positions for Bernie? I honestly could see him maybe like in some foreign policy
secretary as well.
Yeah, Commerce Secretary. I could see him in a foreign policy position, even though some people was like, "Oh, I don't know what Bernie says about foreign policy." It's just like he's very weak with that. No, he's not. Like Bernie's probably like, I mean, he was like kind of the strongest on all of the issues when it came to the Democratic field.
I mean, if Bernie Sanders if he's made labor secretary, if he's made commerce, if he's made anything in the cabinet, I think Joe Biden could pick up a few votes. I think that would be a good idea for him.
Yeah. And that brings us to a clip, like the idea of like convincing Bernie voters. I think, so like this is from The Hill TV, from the show Rising, with Crystal Ball and Sagar and Jetty. Crystal Ball earlier this week, I think it was, had a sit down with Bernie. Let me pull up the video real quick as I'm talking about it. But Crystal Ball talked with him numerous talked with him about numerous things, but most namely, like it was like he was obviously just talking about the 2020 election. And Bernie's out there saying like, if you really care about any of these issues, like you really should turn out for Biden. That's what he was saying right before this clip, in which I'm about to show you. There's an ad in fucking 5 seconds.
So let's talk about what that would look like under a potential Biden administration, because
with United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans, you can take advantage of $0 preventive dental care.
Wow.
Zero.
Ironically, this comes up when we talk about healthcare a lot.
Yeah.
Thing that I've heard from you and a lot of others. Okay, we're going to have an opportunity to push Joe Biden to the left. What does that specifically look like in practice? What would some of the red lines be for you? And if he falls short in your measure in terms of fighting for working class citizens of this country, would you be open to supporting a primary challenge either against him or against Senator Harris in 2024?
Those are great questions, Crystal. Let me start off by saying that I don't think the progressives within the Congress can do it alone. So the first point that has to be made, and I'm going to make this over and over again, if you want a progressive agenda to come out of the United States Congress, we're going to have to rally the American people by the tens.
Oh, by the way, I just got a notification on my phone. Epic Rap Battles of History just released a Donald Trump versus Joe Biden rap battle. So, I don't know. If we have time at the end, maybe we can react to it real quick.
Okay.
Maybe.
Tens of millions to demand that we have a government that represents all of us and not just wealthy campaign contributors. We're going to have to correct and deal with a very corrupt election system with massive voter suppression that exists every single day right now. Second of all, what we are going to do is I'm going to lay out a 100-day agenda, which speaks to the need to begin the process of moving toward Medicare for all. My legislation, 4-year legislation, first year lower the eligibility age from 65 to 55 and cover all the kids. I'm going to introduce that bill. Immediately, we're going to raise that minimum wage to $15 an hour, equal pay for equal work. Immediately, a massive infrastructure program to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure and create millions of good paying jobs. Immediately, making it easier for workers to join unions, et cetera, et cetera. So we have got to lay out an agenda that speaks to the struggles and the desperation of working class Americans. And finally, tell the corporate elite they have had their day. And we are going to stand up and fight for policies that workers desperately need.
So I want to make sure I'm understanding you here.
Am I prepared to support primary challenges all across this country to those members of Congress, Democrats, who are not prepared to move toward a progressive agenda? You're damn right I am.
And so let me make sure I understand what you're saying here. You're saying, look, the Biden administration, they'll have their 100-day plan, but there's going to be a Bernie Sanders working class 100-day plan as well that you're going to attempt to rally people behind.
With United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans, there's so much to take advantage of, like $0 copays on virtual visits.
Wow.
Skip the ad.
$0 copays on primary care visits and lab tests.
Skip the fucking ad.
I wanted to get to the but yeah, that's pretty much the video. But yeah. So
that was all good.
Yeah, and watching Bernie always brings like it makes me happy just to see him. Like it's bittersweet, yeah, definitely. Because like he always says the right things. At least for the most part, like he for the most part he says the right things, but it's always just like it's just a hint at what could have been.
He would have been a great president.
Yeah, he definitely would have beaten Trump, especially after COVID. Before COVID, it was my guess that he would have been the only candidate who remotely had a shot at beating Trump.
He would have he would have mopped the floor with Donald Trump.
In the debates, especially. I would have paid the $12,000 ticket to go see that live, and I would be his ultimate cheerleader from the
100%.
audience. Yeah, but some of those debate tickets sometimes cost up to like $32,000, or at least it was with that one South Carolina debate with Mike Bloomberg, and he like paid a lot of people to go there and like applaud for him and boo Bernie, because that's when Bernie was kind of on the defense from like saying, oh yeah, Castro had a good like reading program, which is an objective fact. That's an objective fact. It's like saying that Castro had a decent education program doesn't mean you're praising his dictatorship.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, a lot of our politics, sadly, we fail to like keep people in context when they're seen as dictators or brutal people. He did some awful stuff. It's like kind of like when Erykah Badu said Hitler was a great artist. Yes, he was. It doesn't mean
beside the point.
Yeah, like it doesn't mean she supports genocide of certain ethnic groups. No.
Yeah. To point out, like there's a few good things that Cuba under Fidel Castro did, but that doesn't take away from the overall picture that he was not a great leader. Like he had internment camps for homosexuals. Like that was a big thing that he did. But yeah, on to Bernie. I was really happy to hear him say this. Like he would support a primary challenger for anyone who doesn't rally behind his progressive agenda. And I'm hoping he lives up to that. And like, I think he has he has done that so far, to an extent. Like he supported Jamal Bowman in his bid against Elliot Engel. But then again, that was kind of like after it was like decided, yeah, Elliot Engel's kind of done for. Like that was after like his hot mic moments. Like, oh, like if it wasn't for like COVID and Black Lives Matter, if it wasn't like I wouldn't care unless except I'm being like primary, pretty much is like what he said. Like that's more than a Freudian slip. That's just you being so just ultimately.
Oh, that's not a Freudian slip. That's
just him being honest.
Microphone was on.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really happy he said that, and like I said, I hope he lives up to it. As far as like the agenda that he's setting out, it's very solid. I don't but there's the thing, like I think Biden really doesn't care about Bernie that much. I think he's really only using him to like maybe like get as many left votes as he possibly can. I think once he's elected, he's gonna ignore him. So like that's a possibility, definitely, but I'm worried about that. But and also that, like he said, like that's how we get people to elect. That's how we get like my voters to like vote for Joe Biden. Like we show them that like or like we try to like lay out an agenda, that helps out like that helps working class families, and that is so much just a better strategy of trying to rally people to vote for Joe Biden, because like we see it all the time on like our friends' Instagram stories, and they mean well, but like most of their reasoning for voting for Biden, and some of it's fair, it's just like Trump bad, which is absolutely true. That is a good decent enough reason to vote for Biden, but like it just amounts to Trump bad. If you vote for third party, you vote for Trump.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a whole lot of voter shaming in
definitely
these things. And that is the exact wrong way to do it. Like I remember when I was kind of on the fence and I was considering voting third party up until like a few months ago. Like, these people who are just saying, oh, if you're voting third party, you're just voting for Trump. It's like, and you're terrible for wanting to do that. And like my dad included said like, fuck you and your like purity tests or whatever. And it's like, okay, that just drives me from Biden more. Like,
yeah, it like makes people not want to vote. And the thing is, I had like intense debates with people like, well, third parties aren't necessarily recognized. It doesn't mean that necessarily that it's not recognized. Your vote helps third parties more likely to get elected.
Yeah. And like
get more notice. Of course, our two-party system isn't necessarily fair. But the thing is,
it's beyond unfair.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, the argument assumes that all the people who vote third party are going to actually vote. And the thing is, if you take away the third parties and you don't have that third option, they're not actually going to vote or vote for Biden.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like, everyone was blaming like Jill Stein or like a lot of people were blaming Jill Stein for Hillary Clinton's loss, and like it's not that simple, because not everyone who vote, like if you look at the polling of Jill Stein voters, only like 10 to 20% of them said that they would have voted for Hillary Clinton had Jill Stein not been in the race. But also, you'd have to go the other way and give all the libertarian votes to the Republican Party. Like, and and that wouldn't work too, because you don't know like how libertarian voters would have swung had Gary Johnson not been in the election. So it's not that cut and dry. So like it's a lot more complex than that, and it's really frustrating to see people try to condense it to just that. And what really bothers me is when people are trying to like use the excuse of saying, okay, Trump is really that bad, so just vote for Biden, like as a reason to just like cut off any potentially legitimate criticisms of Joe Biden. And there are plenty. We've voiced many of them on this episode alone. But and that's what really pisses me off. And like it's possible to be critical of Joe Biden and still be willing to vote for him. Like, because as bad as Biden is, Trump is just much worse, so like
I mean, sadly, like there are some people like within our spectrum who like fail to see complexity. Like they just think black or white about a certain issue.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's frustrating, really. It's like there's not really much else to say about it, and except or like it got to the point where like Democrats just like are really on a vendetta out against the Green Party, where like they literally sued to have them removed from the ballot in certain states.
Yeah.
And some people were like the RBG dying kind of like gave a rebirth to just like shitting on the Green Party and anyone who dares vote for them. To the point where like Bill Maher in his new rule said, you can because of your vote, or like some like I really hope
you said you can carry your rape baby to term and name it Jill Stein.
Yeah, that's what he said, and that's just like that's and it's moments like that where it's like Bill Maher is not funny anymore, or at least not as funny as he used to be. And or that's one. Another on top of that, he's just kind of a partisan hack now.
He's an asshole.
Yeah, he's an asshole. But I can get past the assholery for most.
I can too, and I do think like I still watch Bill Maher because I think he's funny sometimes. But it's just really depressing when he says really fucking stupid stuff like that.
I really stopped watching him after he made arguments against free college. I used to watch him a lot in like 2017, 2018, but after that, it was like he became way too more conservative. So it was time for me to like stop watching him. So.
Yeah, I remember when Killer Mike was on his show when he was talking about that. Killer Mike put him in his fucking place.